What is up? Jerry here, back with another daily live stream on Underdog Fantasy. We're already in one. Let's get to it. Oh, fuck. I gotta add this. Gotta share screen. I'm not prepared. There we go. Okay. I think we're good now. Okay. We are pick number 5. Sweet. So, you guys know how I feel about the top 5. I think there's a pretty solid tier right there. Top 4 is even nicer, but JSN at 5 never feels bad either. So let's see how this one goes. I would really like to do a bigger board, one of the $100 drafts. However, they seem to take so long to fill, and during the week doesn't seem to happen. So hopefully this weekend I can get in a $100 draft and stream it. That would be fun. For now, we'll stick with the big board $10 draft. We'll take JSN at pick 5. I think there's a little tier break between him and the next guys. Jonathan Taylor, of course, could just repeat as one of the best picks in fantasy. But I think, the Indy offense could just regress a little bit with Daniel Jones coming off of that Achilles injury. And they kind of fell apart in the second half of last year. So I like the top 5. Hard to go wrong there. Any names I recognize? Not really. I feel pretty limited with things I can talk about just by myself at this point in the year because there's not really much going on in football. Clearly, the Super Bowl just ended, and we're not at the combine stage yet. So, in a bit of a lull, but I'm just going to keep drafting and yeah, try and get some unique combinations, some good player values that I think are going to rise. I think that's always the best approach at this time of year, especially when you plan on drafting throughout the offseason. Justin Jefferson is someone I'm seeing rise quite a bit. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up going in the first round, although still not my favorite pick. I really don't think there's too much of a difference between Justin Jefferson and A.J. Brown, other than maybe target share. But yeah, give me A.J. Brown in the 4th round instead. Saquon, Omarion Hampton. The Eagles' offense as a whole could be a little worrisome this year, though, with their offensive line coach resigning, who was with the team for a long time and helped develop guys like Jason Kelsey and Jordan Mailata. I'm either going to take whoever's at the top here. I'll take Malik Neighbors. I'll take Jeremiah Love, see who is available. Come on, Diego. He takes Nico. So I'm going to take Malik Neighbors. I like this start. I don't think I've started with JSN and Malik Neighbors. We get Neighbors to fall all the way to 20. Not something I see very often. So I'm going to be pretty happy with that. Now, back to the Eagles. Yeah, there's some uncertainty there. And there's talk of Lane Johnson and Landon Dickerson both possibly considering retirement right now. And if either one of them goes, that's a problem. If both of them go, that is a big, big problem. I'm clearly a Lions fan. We saw with my Lions last year that losing some key pieces on the offensive line made a big difference. Coordinator changes made a big difference. And that could be the Eagles this year. We already saw them take a step back this past year in their run game, especially. Saquon not breaking off the same sort of long rushes we were used to the year before. So could even just take another step back. Either way, though, I still like A.J. Brown. Feels hard to go wrong. And it's hard to believe he's going to have a worse year than last year. Now, running backs are flying off the board right now. A lot of people going running back heavy, which seems like a pretty common strategy and one I like too. Now, if George Pickens is here, I'm taking George Pickens. If not, I'm going to take Bucky Irving. Pretty clear right there. See what this guy does. He has 2 running backs. So does he want a receiver? He does in Pickens. So I'll take my first running back in Bucky Irving, get someone with high upside, and hopefully we get a good receiver to fall back to us in this 4th round. Because I'm not a big fan of the running backs, and there are some quite nice receivers as well. Big reason why I quite like to go heavier running backs a little early on. But this is a nice start. Not a start that I've had yet either. JSN, Malik Neighbors, and Bucky Irving. Let's see. Take a look at other teams. Anyone else who is standing out? Not quite. Josh Allen is not someone I've drafted a lot. I've drafted him in one team so far, I think, when he fell to pick 33. Because why not? Still someone I want to mix in, but in a 20-round draft, not quite my favorite when you can get 3 quarterbacks. In Best Ball Mania, might be a little better maybe. However, we always see those mid-round quarterbacks just do well and exceed expectations. Someone like Brock Purdy last year, injured a lot, but in the fantasy playoffs, absolutely smashed. I had a Puppy 4 team in the finals, and my quarterbacks were Jaden Daniels and Brock Purdy. Jaden Daniels clearly injured, didn't play. So Brock Purdy carried that team. Both suffered a lot of injuries throughout the year, actually. I think that one barely even made the playoffs because there was some weeks where I was getting 0 quarterback points. Now, I would really like to get one of these 2 players. Luther Burden, I feel, is one of the most overrated players right now. Zay Flowers would feel quite nice. If not, I would take Igbuka. And he takes Lamar Jackson. So that ruins our possibility of getting Lamar to fall back to us in the 5th, which I think I've gotten once or twice with Zay Flowers in the 4th and Lamar in the 5th. And that feels quite nice when you get that, because it is a little unique and just a very valuable stack to have. Because when Zay Flowers goes off, chances are Lamar is as well. And I would expect him to rush more next year. He is getting a little older, but he was dealing with, I believe it was a hamstring injury last year. So that's always going to limit rushing abilities. And another player who was dealing with a hamstring injury last year, Emeka Igbuka. After he got his injury, he didn't miss a single game for it, but probably should have, depending or based on how he was actually playing. And this guy at pick 1, Moonman, starts with 4 running backs. His penis must be extremely large. He's just big dick in this draft. High testosterone. And a rookie receiver as your wide receiver 1. That's interesting. Now, this 5th round does not feel too great to me. I don't love these running backs. Cam Scatterbo, I'm not a fan of. Quinshon Judkins, can't do it. I mean, Judkins could be okay, but Jalen Waddle has his downside. I would have taken Mekhi Lemon, personally. I am tempted just to take Scatterbo since he's fallen, but I think he's going to continue to fall throughout the draft process. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and draft Jalen Waddle. I don't love the Dolphins this year as well, but in the 5th round, it doesn't feel like a bad value. Kind of regardless of his quarterback, but health is always the biggest concern with Waddle. He seems to get hurt every year. Maybe I could have taken Scatterbo, but I don't know. Targeting start of OTAs, I feel like we always get overly optimistic injury reports at this time of the year. Like, we were hearing great things about Brandon Ayuk and Chris Godwin last year at this time of year. Like, yeah, they're going to be ready for OTAs, training camp, no problem. Sipping on that coffee. You know what it is. Lions mug. Marvin Harrison, someone I'm seeing rise quite a bit as well. I've gotten a decent amount of shares in the 6th round, and I think some in the 7th round when this first opened. Now, looking at our team, I always like to think about possible quarterbacks that I can draft. We can draft Baker, we can draft Darnold, we can draft Jackson Dart. So the guys in this range, we don't quite need. I would like to get someone like Parker Washington and just get even stronger at receiver. Go with a bit of a hero running back build, which I haven't done as much of this year. But when you get the right guys to fall to you, those teams feel really good. This is still a draft with, I think, 558 people in the finals. So getting the wide receivers that separate is going to be very valuable and important. I don't love the running backs in this range either. Like, give me the running backs down here a little more. I like them here in the 80s to 120s, 130s, a lot more than in the 40s to 70s. That's just me. We'll see how it goes. Drake May falling pretty far. Someone I could consider, but his stacking options are also limited. And I have quite a bit of quarterback flexibility. So, not someone I'm going to force on this team. I think Drake May is just going to continue to fall probably towards the 7th, 8th round as the draft cycle goes on. So, I'm more than happy to get my shares there. He was going in the 4th round when this first opened up, and so was Kyle Pitts. And my first impressions seemed to be true, being that I thought those were the worst values you could possibly draft. We always see every year there's some quarterbacks that just get way overhyped. We saw it with Anthony Richardson when he was going in like the 5th. We saw it with Trevor Lawrence when he was going in the 5th. And it seemed pretty clear that was Drake May this year. Now, I'm interested in taking Jackson Dart because we have Malik Neighbors. However, if one of these receivers fall to me, if Mike Evans comes back to me, I might just have to take him, even though he fell off pretty hard this year with injuries and age. But it would be a unique combination, and I haven't started this strong at receiver in a draft before, but we'll see. There he goes. So Jackson Dart, more than likely going to be our pick. High rushing upside. The biggest concern is, of course, the concussions, which I think he was evaluated for a concussion in half of the games that he played, which is insane. Could get Ricky Pearsall, which would open us up to Brock Purdy. That's enticing as well, but I think I'm just going to get my quarterback. I'm going to get my quarterback first. We don't need a 6th wide receiver right now. We are very strong, and I'm going to lean into the 5 that we have. Maybe if this was Best Ball Mania, I would push it a little further, but we're really early into the draft cycle. Getting 3 quarterbacks in the big board feels pretty good, although 2 is totally fine too. Trevor Lawrence would be interesting to get if he falls back to us, but I wouldn't be surprised if who drafted Brian Thomas? Where'd he go? Where did Brian Thomas go? He went right next to me. So I don't anticipate Trevor Lawrence falling past pick 91. I think the guy with Lamar Jackson and Brian Thomas would probably take him. Although maybe he wants to lean into Lamar Jackson just being that stud. Oh, wow. Jared Goff, pick 81. Okay. Do you, buddy? This is why I'm not afraid just to get the quarterback at this time in the year, because people are very horny for these quarterbacks. There's no way Jared Goff should be going at pick 81. You can get him at pick 105 or 112 very easily. And if you don't, well, he's Jared Goff. And I'm saying that as a Lions fan. I love Jared Goff, absolute stud, but he doesn't run the ball. Jackson Dart at least runs the ball. Oh, fuck, what'd I do? Misclick. Back to draft. Cool. So we'll see if Trevor Lawrence comes back to us. Not really getting my hopes up. If not, I might lean into one of these tight ends here or a running back, because I like the value of Sam Laporta quite a bit. And this guy takes Trevor Lawrence with Travis Etienne, I guess, even though Etienne is a free agent. Do you think Etienne's going to go back to Jacksonville? They didn't pick up his fifth-year option because he was absolute trash 2 years ago, but had a bounce-back season. So who knows? He could. But if I were this guy, if I were P.H. Smith, instead of drafting Quentin Johnston, I would have just drafted Jacoby Myers. So then you at least get a receiver stack as well. And I personally like Jacoby Myers over Quentin Johnston. Just the inconsistencies, drop issues, they're still very, very real. Makes me not the biggest QJ fan this year in the 7th and 8th round. I don't think I've drafted him a single time yet. Maybe once, I'm not sure. Blake Corum goes. He's a big staple of my teams. Now, looking right here, we need a running back. Getting Kyle Monangai feels okay. So I'm just going to draft him. We don't need to think about it too much. I like Kyle Monangai over Tony Pollard. However, one draft I did last night off stream, I started 0 running backs, with my first running back being DeAndre Swift at the end of the 5th round or early 6th round, one or the other. And then I took Tony Pollard in the 8th round with Kyle Monangai right next to him, because I already had Swift, and getting 0 running backs, just a guy like Pollard who's going to get some points early in the season, felt okay to me. So a lot of things just are very dependent on your build, players you've taken, and getting exposure in different situations, I think, is a good idea. And yeah, we see quarterbacks flying off the board. Take a look at this draft board. So this guy who started 4 running backs gets 4 straight wide receivers. So at least he's not being stupid about it. He gets Mahomes. Naked Mahomes. Interesting. There are some backstacking options available, I guess. Stephon Diggs is falling way past ADP. I'm still not taking him here. Not a fan. Oronde Gadsden could be an interesting pick. Or I can reach up for Baker Mayfield and get another quarterback, but Sam Darnold will be available too. Now, Jordan Love goes. Okay. So do we want another running back or do we want a tight end? I'm going to lean towards getting a 3rd running back here, because some of the tight end values are a little better down the board than the running back values. So we're going to do that. Get our 3rd running back. David Montgomery is someone I'm just drafting a ton of. He just seems like such a good value in the 9th and 10th round. He had a bit of a down year, but even then had some massive games. Still very talented. Our O-line had some issues last year, and he's not guaranteed to be on the Lions next year. And if he's on a different team, he's probably even more valuable. So I'm going to take David Montgomery. Now, I'm clearly very much a Lions fan. I don't know how many times I've said that, but if you look at the Lions' opponents next year, you should be a Lions fan too, at least in best ball. We have one of the easiest schedules I've ever seen. Detroit Lions 2026 opponents. Let's take a look at this Lions schedule right here. Where does it show? Okay, I was hoping for some pictures as well. But home games, Chicago, Green Bay, Minnesota, of course, in our division. Then we have New Orleans, Tampa Bay, New England, New York Jets, Tennessee Titans, and New York Giants. Seriously. And road games, of course, our division, Chicago, Green Bay, Minnesota. Away at Atlanta, Buffalo, Carolina, Miami, Arizona. Come on now. Sure, Buffalo might be a tough game. Atlanta has a pretty good defense. Carolina's Carolina. But that's what we get for finishing fourth in the division. A nice gift right there, and I'll be happy about it. I'm expecting the Lions to have a Patriots-type season, honestly. Maybe that's a little overly optimistic, but I don't think so. So Woody Marks, I love the value of as well, but we have JSN, so I'm going to lean into a stack and get Darnold to stack up our alpha wide receivers with. I also like backstacking options for Darnold as well. So we're going to go ahead and take him. Tyrone Tracy is someone I'm going to look at with our next pick. He is a running back who I really like, especially because I'm fading Cam Scatterbo in the 5th round. Not that I think Cam Scatterbo is a bad player. I just think the injury is going to be a bigger deal than people are anticipating right now. That's just kind of how I like to draft at this time of year. I kind of like to fade the guys who had very serious injuries last year. We almost always see them fall later in drafts. Now, if Woody Marks is there, I'm taking him over Tyrone Tracy. Tracy would be a nice Giants correlation when we have Neighbors and Jackson Dart. But honestly, I don't know why Woody Marks is going at 120. He was, I think, 113 to open this contest. And yeah, I don't get it personally. He's an RB1 on his team. Had a very bad game against the Patriots to end things off, but it feels really nice in this range. Like, you're drafting a lot of backup running backs in this range. And going near guys like J.K. Dobbins and James Conner. Nice. We get Woody Marks to fall back to us. That feels really good. So we still have no tight ends, but that feels fine to me. We have tight ends that we can get later in the draft. I'm pretty happy getting A.J. Barner to stack with Sam Darnold. We can get Theo Johnson to stack with Jackson Dart. This team feels quite nice. It's a bit of a different team for me, but I like it a lot. Jackson Dart, Sam Darnold, Bucky Irving, Kyle Monangai, David Montgomery, Woody Marks, JSN, Malik Neighbors, Zay Flowers, Jalen Waddle, Parker Washington. That feels pretty damn good to me. Going to keep our eye on tight ends for sure. Drafting at least 3. I'm totally fine with just 2 quarterbacks as well in Jackson Dart and Sam Darnold. It's not the worst. We do have room to get a 3rd, though. Not quite sure who that 3rd quarterback would be. If I'm ever desperate for a 3rd quarterback, one guy I like to take, one guy I like to take in round like 18, 19 is Aaron Rodgers, just for the chance that he does return for another season, which I am personally anticipating. And you can get some backstats with him too. Even that late in the draft, you can get Pat Freiermuth. if you want another tight end, you can get Calvin Austin, who is going undrafted. I don't think I've seen anyone else draft him except for myself a few times, but he's someone who just gets deep shots, long touchdowns, and is trusted by Aaron Rodgers. He had a game-winning touchdown against, it was either Baltimore or Cincinnati, one of them. Now, Mendoza could be an interesting pick. We can also push quarterback even more and hope someone like Cam Ward falls. I don't know if I need to force Mendoza here or Stroud or Cam Ward. So I think I'm going to just strengthen my wide receiver room even more, get Rashid Shaheed. And if he goes back to Seattle, then that's another stack. I think if Rashid Shaheed goes back to Seattle, he will have a much better season than he did this year because he was trying to jump on a moving train, you know? Seattle, great team. They're doing really well. Got Shaheed as a piece to make it even better. And yeah, it's a little difficult to catch up, to know all the plays, playbook, and build chemistry in the middle of the season. So a full offseason, I think, would do Rashid Shaheed quite well. And if he goes to another team, still a great value. So someone who has been a staple on my teams thus far in drafts. Now, I think I'm going to lean towards my first tight end here in Juwan Johnson over a third quarterback. Like Stroud, I guess correlates with Woody Marks, but he's CJ Stroud. Like, really much of a difference between CJ Stroud and Aaron Rodgers as far as fantasy performance? I really don't think so. Dang, okay, Juwan Johnson goes. So, you know what? I'm just going to get really strong at receiver. I'm going to get really strong at receiver, and I'm comfortable stopping with 7, with these 7, which is something I don't think I've done yet in a big board. I don't think I've gotten just 7 wide receivers, but this team I might stop at 7. We get some Tampa Bay correlation as well with Jalen McMillan and Bucky Irving, so I like that. And if Mike Evans leaves in free agency, Jalen McMillan's value goes up. Chris Godwin, another year older, Jalen McMillan's values goes up. And he was out targeting Egbuka towards the end of last year in a lot of games. Baker Mayfield clearly likes him. So going into his 3rd year, I like Jalen McMillan quite a lot in the 13th round. He was someone I was drafting a lot last year as well in like the, where was he going? Like 16th, 17th, 18th round. Unfortunately, had his neck injury, but if he didn't have that neck injury, I think he would have smashed as well. So it doesn't feel bad to me. Now, AJ Barner is the guy I'm going to be looking at right here. Hopefully he's available in 6 picks. We still have 0 tight ends, but especially if we stop at 7 wide receivers, I can just get 4 tight ends on this team, and that feels totally fine to me. Cam Ward goes, so I'm really hoping AJ Barner's there. If not, I would take Travis Kelce, but Theo Johnson's available as well. I would really like to get 2 of these guys. I don't anticipate Kelce coming back because this guy is Patrick Mahomes at the turn. Travis Kelce, not my favorite player anyways. Reports are that he will be back with the Chiefs this next year, even though he is a free agent. I can't imagine he would ever play for another team. And he gets taken anyways. So hopefully we can get both AJ Barner and Theo Johnson. And then we're just leaning in more and more to Jackson Dart and Sam Darnold. Might not seem like the best on paper, but when you're drafting, you got to draft like you're right. So we're drafting like we're right. We're going to lean into these offenses who could both take a step up going into next year. We all know Seattle just won the Super Bowl, and that could just give all their players more confidence. Sam Darnold been passed around like you know what, and now he's a Super Bowl champion. So that could just give him more and more confidence and make him play even better. Zach Charbonnet wouldn't be the worst pick as well at pick 173. Even though he's coming off his torn ACL, 20 picks past ADP doesn't feel awful. Even if he misses half the season, more Seattle correlation. That would be very, very heavy Seattle. But in a 20 round draft, doesn't feel the worst. In February, doesn't feel the worst. So I might even just lean into that. I don't like drafting a lot of Zach Charbonnet, but at this point in the draft, kind of just why not? Pick 173, like why not? I know we were talking about Theo Johnson as well, but if we're going to get 4 tight ends, which I'm leaning towards in this draft, then there's other guys available later. So I'm going to do that. It's probably like my second time drafting Charbonnet, but getting him 20 picks past ADP, that's when I want to mix these guys in that I'm not drafting a ton of. So I'm going to queue up some of these other tight ends. And we're almost certainly going with 4. I don't need a third quarterback. I'm not going to force one either. I will look to get a 6th running back, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be done at 7 wide receivers. I don't think I need to force an 8th. We have 2 absolute studs in JSN and Malik Neighbors. Zay Flowers finishes wide receiver 12 this past year, believe it or not, and he only got like 3 touchdowns, I think, maybe 4. And 2 of them were in like the first game of the season. Jalen Waddle, wide receiver 1 on his team, even though I don't like the Dolphins very much. Parker Washington could just be turned into an elite wide receiver going into his 4th year contract season and looked like Trevor Lawrence's favorite target towards the end of last year. So I'm going to lean into that. I would love to get Isaiah Likely. Free agent. We see a lot of tight ends do better on their second team or second contract. It's one of the hardest positions to get good at, really. You need to know the blocking schemes. You need to know all the receiver schemes, pretty much the whole offense. He's also splitting with nice, dude. He was also splitting it with Mark Andrews. So I'm quite happy there taking Zach Charbonnet and Isaiah Likely over, let's say, Theo Johnson and Dylan Sampson, or Theo Johnson and Nicholas Singleton. So I'm liking how this is turning out quite a bit. And if I do want another quarterback, I could take Aaron Rodgers and stack him up with Pat Freiermuth. Let's see, though. If we get... Yeah, that would be a 3-6-7-3. Would be an interesting build. Now, with our next pick, do we want to get a Colby Parkinson, a veteran who played well, had great games, especially near the end of the year, or Mason Taylor, a young rookie who you just expect to be better? We have 2 young guys, so maybe we get more of a vet in Colby Parkinson. I like Alec Almanor here too, but we just don't need a receiver. I think I'm going to lean into my 7 that I have. Takes Tank Bigsby, so I don't know. I don't like TJ Hawkinson. I just think he's pretty trash. And the Vikings are trash. So I'm going to take Colby Parkinson. I do like Terrence Ferguson more than Colby Parkinson. However, it's pretty undeniable that he was one of Stafford's favorite targets this past year. So someone I want to mix in as well. And in round 17, feels pretty good. So we are 12 picks away. Now, I think I might do that. I might try and get Aaron Rodgers and then Pat Fryermuth on the way back if he's available. Aaron Rodgers 212, Pat Fryermuth 221. We'll see how the board falls to us, but I don't hate that. I really don't. TJ Hawkinson picked 200 to Jay Long. Jake Tongas could be a great value. There are some optimistic reports on George Kittle. However, like I was mentioning earlier, there's so many optimistic reports at this point in the year, which, yeah, you just got to be a little weary of. Of course, everyone's going to hope for the best, but setbacks are possible too. So don't want to discount that, especially with some of the players that are a little older. I also wouldn't be surprised if San Francisco drafts a tight end as a long-term replacement for George Kittle, unless they just view Tongas as that, but we'll see. It's only February. I want to start mixing in some of these rookie receivers at the ends of drafts as well. Okay, Aaron Rodgers gets taken, so we're not going to be able to get him. Now, JJ McCarthy is available if we just wanted to get a third quarterback. He has some rushing upside, but don't even know if he's going to start the whole year. I picked 212, though. Like, what's the downside, really? This guy takes him, so we won't get him. Cade Otton is a free agent. It's kind of interesting as well. Would I rather take Cade Otton or Pat Fryermuth? I'm going to go with Pat Fryermuth to just get our fourth tight end. This is not a build that I've had yet, so I am intrigued by it. Now, it seems like I'm going to lean into just these two quarterbacks, which I'm totally fine with. Late round picks. Could get someone like Darius Slayton, who I haven't drafted yet, to stack up with Jackson Dart. But I don't love Darius Slayton. We've seen that. We know how that goes. So I'm going to take another running back. I might just end with two running backs. Go with a 2-7-7-4, which would be a really weird build. But yeah, who knows? Or we can just get an 8th wide receiver with our last pick. I'm going to be drafting a running back here, though. Emmanuel Wilson I'll take if he's there. Jaden Blue. Who knows how Jaden Blue is going to be? I don't think I've drafted Jaden Blue, though, so maybe I will on this team. Get a little different. Emmanuel Wilson wasn't all that impressive, even when he was the lead back when Josh Jacobs was injured. Wasn't all that impressive. Moonman goes ahead and takes Kirk Cousins and Geno Smith. Interesting. So Jaden Blue gets taken. Najee Harris doesn't excite me. I will just take Emmanuel Wilson if he's there. Maybe I could have gone with a running back with our last pick and then a tight end now. Oh, well. Could just mix in some rookies too. You know what? I'm going to do that. I don't think I've drafted any rookies on this team. I haven't drafted Mike Washington yet, so let's take him. And I'm probably just going to go for another rookie. I don't know who any of these guys are yet. So I'm drafting purely off of their names and if I like their name or not. We're just going to queue them up. Queue up some of these rookies. Ezekiel Elliott. Someone's actually drafted Ezekiel Elliott. That's insane. Hey, I'm trying to queue you up. There you go. Little lag right there. So very different build for me. Going with a 2-7-7-4. I don't hate how it turned out though. Jackson Dart, Sam Darnold as our quarterbacks. We have them both stacked up with our top two receivers. So we're just leaning into these offenses very much. And top three teams advance in this. So there's no difference between finishing fourth place and finishing 12th place. Jackson Dart, Sam Darnold, Bucky Irving, Kyle Monangai, David Montgomery, Woody Marks, Zach Charbonnet, Mike Washington Jr., JSN, Malik Neighbors, Zay Flowers, Jalen Waddle, Parker Washington, Rashid Shaheed, Jalen McMillan, AJ Barner, Isaiah Likely, Colby Parkinson, and Pat Fryermuth. Interesting team. Tua, not too interested in. Hard to imagine that he is going to be the quarterback of the Dolphins. We are one pick away, so who do I want? Randall, Hemby, McGowan, Jamari Taylor, Kalen Black. Jamari Taylor has a cool name. Kalen Black, he won a national championship. He's someone I've mixed in probably the most out of these guys. Roman Hemby has a cool name. I'm going to go with Kalen Black. If there's zeros, there's zeros. Whatever. So final team is looking like Jackson Dart, Sam Darnold as our two quarterbacks. Bucky Irving, Kyle Monangai, David Montgomery, Woody Marks, Zach Charbonnet, Mike Washington Jr., and Kalen Black as our 7 running backs. 7 wide receivers in JSN, Malik Neighbors, Zay Flowers, Jalen Waddle, Parker Washington, Rashid Shaheed, and Jalen McMillan. With 4 tight ends in AJ Barner, Isaiah Likely, Colby Parkinson, and Pat Fryermuth. Interesting build. And I kind of like it. I kind of like how this team turned out. It will be, interesting to see how it unfolds. But we want to get a little different, so I'm going to do that. Thank you very much for watching. Just one draft today, but leave a like, subscribe. I would appreciate it very much. Come back tomorrow. I'm drafting every day on Underdog Fantasy. Hopefully we can get in $100 bigger board. But until now, I love you. Joy is beautiful. End stream.